everyone. So this is going to be part 2 on this video series. I'm calling it How Autism Has Helped Me Face My Fears, and this is part 2 of that. Now recently I've been reading a really interesting book, a little book, about, it's a Japanese philosophy or lifestyle, it's more philosophy actually, but it's been taken up in the Western world as a kind of sort of lifestyle philosophy, and it's called Ikigai, and it's a Japanese word that literally means like life force, and it's all about finding meaning in life, because there's this argument that people who have meaning in their life, people who have something to live for, tend to be like more resilient and less prone to like getting mental health problems and things like that. Ikigai emphasises the realm of small things, how small things in our lives can give us a sense of meaning and make us feel more grounded. So, for example, a cup of coffee in the morning, that might just be enough to like get you wanting to get out of bed because you really want that cup of coffee. That small little detail gives you a kind of sense of meaning, like an anchor. This really resonated with me actually. I think Ikigai has a lot to offer autistic people, particularly as we are kind of very interested in details anyway. We like really detailed focused, and we tend to be quite, we do tend to be quite driven into like particulars, like, perfection in our particular interest. Well, I certainly am anyway, and that seems to be kind of quite common amongst autistic people. So I think Ikigai might have quite a lot to offer autistic people, and also it's quite interesting that Japanese culture in general seems to be quite autistic. I don't like calling cultures autistic. When I say, that's why I'm using inverted commas, I'm just being a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It's just that the culture, I don't know, it seems to be quite autism friendly. I don't know what it's like to live in Japan. It might be a completely different story if you actually live there. It probably is. It's just on paper, it looks quite good. So Ikigai is kind of about it's a value to live by without having to prove yourself and without like necessarily needing to be successful in what you're interested in. That's quite good because particularly for many autistic people, we might not necessarily be able to work and stuff. I can't work because of our disabilities and things like that. Or even if we can work, we're unlikely to be in a job that gives us lots of money and things just because we're the nature of our disabilities. But that doesn't necessarily matter, because if you have something in your life that gives you meaning and that gives you a value to live by, that in itself can be enough. And that is quite a difficult thing to take on board, because I know personally for myself I do need a lot of validation. I think particularly as I've got quite low self-esteem as a result of growing up without receiving any validation or without receiving correct support, without knowing what I'm good at. I can be quite like, what am I good at? I'm quite confused a lot of the time about what exactly my strengths are and stuff, and I can be quite hard on myself and like constantly needing validation from others to feel like I'm worth something. And I know that's not really a very good trait to have, but I think it is a result of like growing up without any validation and feeling like invisible like most of my life. But within Ikigai, you can stop trying for that, and you can still find meaning. So that's quite a good concept to take on board, even though it's really, really difficult. So it's like all about discovering life's pleasures that have meaning for you. Starting small, taking little steps, a bit like what I'm doing at the moment with cooking fish. Because it is a major phobia, like OCD, and I'm doing it a bit by bit, step by step, starting off with like easy ones, moving on to more complex ones, starting off with like ready meals where I've got the instructions and they're all really very clear, moving on to like doing it more kind of in recipes where it's a little bit more vague, but my support work is helping me with that and alongside autism. But it's just starting small and doing a little bit by bit is good. I love the fact that in Japan, by the way, going off a bit on a tangent, they even have an elite league of fruits. Who would have thought? They take fruit so seriously in Japan, they even have an elite league of fruits in their drive for perfection. I love that. And apparently, though, Ikigai is all about like sensory pleasures. One of the ways to build resilience and a reason to carry on with life is actually to develop a sensory pleasure. In Japan, their lives are devoted to creating just one thing properly. So it might be, say, someone developing a perfect sushi, or ramen noodles or something like that. But it's small sensory details, and of course food is full of sensory details. That's part of the reason why I think I'm obsessed with it. And I guess I get Ikigai resilience from food. It's maybe one, and obviously when I was younger with Kate Winslet, which was my major interest as a teenager. So I've always had maybe a sense of Ikigai because I'm autistic, because I get so extremely interested in things, which is maybe one of the positives of being autistic for me. I've never not been without something really focused. And there's few moments, there have been occasions, as we said, very occasionally where I have gone without interest for a bit of time and I felt quite in a void and quite meaningless, and they've been really not very nice times. Thankfully, I have always come out of those times. Because those moments, it's like often sort of when you're between interests, that can be quite kind of really hard if you're autistic. I guess it's hard for anyone if you're not really interested in something at a particular time, but I think non-autistic people can still maybe find meaning elsewhere. With us, we do tend to be like really focused. We need something to focus on. Just as it's part of our condition, we need those like details to focus on, and we don't have them. It tends to be not very good for us. So, but yeah, fortunately at the moment I've got more into philosophy and things like that, so I do have a kind of Ikigai in my reading routine and in my food, which is really helpful at the moment, so that's good. It's helped me to overcome my phobias I've already mentioned, even going into busy shops that I find stressful, but because I'm so interested in food, that can motivate me to go into Tesco to compare different brands and collect food experiences. I've always had this need to do that. When I was younger, as I mentioned in my previous video, I used to actually look at all the food items and memorise the ingredients of each food item and talk about them to my mum. So this is quite motivational, doing something that otherwise is quite stressful, but motivates me to do that. My interest motivates me to do something that normally I'd find really, really stressful. And indeed it is stressful, but my interest motivates me to maybe do something that otherwise my autism would stop me doing. So it's like, autism's funny like that. It contains negatives, but it contains something to like counteract it in the form of the interest, which is quite interesting dialectic. Incidentally, by the way, doing something new now and again, that's really hard for us autistic people. I find it extremely hard. But it is meant to be quite good because it improves neural connectivity. So maybe that's a motivation, if there is any, to trying at least to sometimes get out of one's comfort zone. It's actually meant to be good for the brain. The neuroscientist Shlomo Brezhnitz, I'm probably not pronouncing him correctly, he has argued that. It makes sense. And Viktor Frankl, who was a psychologist, said that health depends on that natural tension that comes from comparing what we've accomplished so far with what we'd like to achieve in future. We need not a peaceful existence, but a challenge we can strive to meet by applying all the skills at our disposal. So that's something to take on board, that challenges are actually good. And I do like challenging myself because I hate stagnation. I've always been someone who really wants to push myself. It is really difficult, but I think that's just part of who I am. I'm always wanting to try and challenge myself. And there is something actually I want to find out a bit more called Morita therapy. By the way, I'm really, really interested in this. Being interested in philosophy is really helpful because it also helps me motivate me to overcome my fears because it provides me with a little bit of a push, I think. It's like almost a little bit like a sort of self-therapy in a way. And I'm just naturally very interested in philosophy. And so I've been since my early 20s, since my Kate Winslet interest faded out. It's been my main interest, other than food. I've got like two major interests, I guess. Morita therapy. Check that one out if you want some advice on how to overcome your fears. It's basically all about how you should be doing what you should be doing. It's an action-based learning, and it's taking charge of actions, not emotions. So it's like saying, okay, so you might be experiencing a really bad emotion, but it's all about kind of doing what you want to do anyway. It's almost like feeling a fear. What's the phrase goes? Yeah, it's a common. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That's it. There's actually a book called that, which I read some time back. So do check that out if you want some more information about that. I thought that was quite interesting. And I'll finish with a quote. Washington Burnap. The grand essentials to happiness in this life are something to do, something to love, and something to hope for. And I think that autism, for me, has always given me something to do. Most of the time, because I have an extreme interest, so I'm always wanting to pursue my interests, and obviously I love my interests, and I do hope I can improve and continually, challenge myself. So I guess maybe that is quite good, and I don't know if I'm happy. I don't think that's quite an extreme thing, and I don't know if I've ever been like happy, whatever that is. But I've always avoided getting depressed, despite the fact I've had all these issues. So maybe the way autism affects me, and I know many autistic people aren't so fortunate, and quite a few autistic people do get depressed, but I've been lucky to avoid depression at least, despite all my other issues. And I think maybe being so obsessed with something, because like in my case, I've always had a strong interest, and I think my strong interests have just been so helpful in helping me get through life, even when it's been really, really difficult. And I don't know where I'd be without my interests. And when people talk about obsessions and they say autistic people get too obsessed with something, they need to remember that these interests are like really, really important, and they should never take an interest away from an autistic person, unless it's dangerous. Obviously, I know some autistic people might have interests that might be counterproductive or might not be like very good for them, or they might harm other people. And in that case, they might need a replacement interest. But most of the time, an autistic person's interest doesn't matter how obsessive it is. If that interest gives that person like meaning and a sense for carrying on, and like helps them overcome issues and things, then that needs to be supported at a really young age, I would say. And I wish that had happened with me, because like then, I mean, I did a lot on my own in terms of like using my interest productively, but it would have been good, I think, maybe if they'd be recognised more by the school or things like that, and it might have helped me maybe develop more as a person if I'd received support connected to my interests. I don't know. I could talk about this in another video. But anyway, I'm going to finish now. I think I'm going to move on now to my third. This is going to be part 3. It's quite a long video piece this time. It's just I've got so much to talk about. But I just want to show you one of my cooking journals in my last video. The next video is going to be quite a short one, where I'm just going to show you some of my journals. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you.